welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today I wanted to see what we could round up, and so it turns out that Fedora 28 has released their new beta, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick look. Just see what this new distro, or this new version of this distro rather, has in store for us. So let's go ahead and start and look at their website. So this is the announcement. This is from fedoramagazine.org. /announcing Fedora 28 beta. And so in this article here, it's just going to walk through some of the major differences. So we have a workstation, a server, there's net installs. Again, this is a beta, so they warn you on the installation that there may be some hiccups in it still. So please let them know, right?
Let them know if there's anything goofy if you try this guy out.
Thank you, Kitty. All right. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and have a look at this. So first, some of the things that they're doing a little bit differently is they have kind of a modularity part of the repositories. I don't know as much into this. This is not a community that I follow very closely, but basically it boils down to their breaking up the repository so you have different components and different things. Makes it easy. It's like the direction they're kind of moving towards is a direction that's really good for things like IoT servers and things like that. And actually, one of the major things that they're doing differently here is now we have a 64-bit ARM available as well on the Fedora server. These are all critical things as things move into this IoT world. You get Raspberry Pis or ARM processors and things like that. You wanted the ability to have these. And so their modularity combining with this 64-bit ARM is certainly a step in the direction towards the future. So this is a really neat direction that they're moving with this. You have Gnome 3.28, which has a few extra features. Favorite file folders, contacts is easier to organize and things like that. Thunderbolt 3 connections support natively, and there's some power saving features for laptop batteries and things like that. Virtual guest box additions are installed by default. That's nice, so we can actually have a look at this, and we'll actually be able to see it pretty well. And then there's a few other items in here. Kubernetes, I have no idea what this is. And there is your few other items there, just minor bug fixes and things like that. Once again, if you are into beta testing things, go ahead and install it. Enable them to send bug reports back so that they can get some more information. I believe they're looking to release the final release, I think, in a month or so, somewhere in May, if I remember correctly. So you can actually look for the information over there. And with that being said, I think what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and jump on into the desktop here. All right, so here we are in the installation. Of course, this is running on a VirtualBox. And I installed this via the net installer. So you download the net installer, which is, I think, 650 some megabytes, if I recall correctly. I think it was like 657 megabytes, or maybe it was 567. I don't know. Me and numbers, whatever. But anyway, we have this installed, and here we have everything set up the way you would anticipate Fedora to be set up. I'm going to look for the system monitor before we do anything else, see what this is running on. As of right now, the system is running on 1.5 gigabytes of memory, so that actually seems like quite a bit to me. Let me know if you use Fedora on a regular basis. Is that pretty high, or is that about normal? And we are running on, there's 6 gigabytes and 4 processing cores in this particular virtual machine. So you can see how that's set up. And let's just go ahead and stack these. So GNOME shell itself is 304. With software, a few other things. So by default, definitely don't run this if you are, have a system that is very light on resources. You do need a little bit heavier of a system to do this. I'm noticing a little bit of a delay in there in the mouse. That's probably due to the fact that we are in a VirtualBox, so I'm not going to be too worried about that. Firefox by default with Rhythmbox files, software. One of the funny criticisms is, I'm not sure how long Fedora's been doing this. It's kind of like taking a Windows 10 type approach, where we're like, there's updates to install, reboot the computer to install. I'm like, oh god, this is going to take a while. It doesn't take nearly as long as Windows 10's hour. Hey, but it's down from 85 minutes. This only actually took about 3 minutes, I think. Rebooted the system, it installed the updates on that reboot. And so if let me know how long Fedora has been doing that. Of course, we have our basic setup. I do like the appearance of this. It's new and fresh. It's not my personal liking. As you know, I don't like the GNOME shell as far as how it functions. Just it doesn't jive with my workflow. But if it does jive with yours, then that's great. It does look slick. That's one of the things I do like about it. If you get used to the shortcut keys, it'll be good. Let's go ahead and have a look at our software. One of the things I want to see what version of LibreOffice. Of course, we have version 6. We do expect a lot of our applications in Fedora to be some of the more modern. Let's see how the spelling checker works. Some people always ask me if these are working. Does it do the spell checking, and does it have the thesauras in place? So yes, we have our spelling in place, and it looks like we also have our thesaurus in place as well. So everything is set to go for LibreOffice. So if you do a lot of writing stuff, you do have the latest version of LibreOffice here, and that is good. Cat's fat belly is getting in the way of my my mouse interference there. Firefox. We have let's see what version Firefox happens to be. Again, everything should be the newest versions that we have. Kind of starts up on Firefox with some privacy notice. Privacy is fundamental to a healthy internet. So these are kind of the defaults. So you can choose what you want, and I'm not. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of what Mozilla is doing these days, but I certainly support Firefox over some other browsers. One of the things that I found on my Ubuntu computer is that Firefox had added some extension that collects data in the background. That was kind of creepy to me. This one does not do that apparently, so that's good. Let's go ahead and check our version of it as well. 59.0.1, so that's a very good, very new, up-to-date version. All right, let's have a look at our settings. See what our settings are by default. Now, like Fedora, when you first boot up Fedora, it's going to walk you through a few settings. You choose whether you use location services and support data, send bug report data, things like that. There's a few of those items. No Wi-Fi adapter installed on this. That's correct. No Bluetooth installed. That is correct. We have some backgrounds. I really like those backgrounds, but let's see what else we have in here. Looks like we have 2 different options. They're actually both pretty cool. I'm going to move to that one for now. Notifications. We do have notifications on both the lock screen and everywhere else. Everything is turned on by default. So Rhythmbox, problem reporting, software files. I like the fact that Fedora is still coming with Evolution, my favorite email client on Linux. Here's our search. This is what the default looks like. So it will not search in characters by default. It will not search weather by default. It does search everything else. I can toggle on or toggle things off accordingly. Region and language input. Universal access input. Here's your online accounts. You can add a variety of different online accounts. So here's the privacy items. You'll see location services off. Some distros will turn this on automatically. Some distros turn it off automatically. This one, I like it. I like what Fedora does. When I first load, it gives you the option. You have a screen toggle whether you want location services turned on or turned off. I always like turning those off. So you go ahead and do that. Problem reporting, you have manual problem reporting, and then of course you can toggle this on if you want. There's a privacy policy there, so that's going to boot up our website to give us our privacy policy. Information they collect. If you create a user account, participate in service evaluations, participate in promotions, of course, it's going to gather all this information. Types of personal information collected may include but are not limited to, so there's all that. All right, so you can read through that privacy policy. This is the type of reason why I don't generally turn on reporting. I will on betas if I'm running it. So like I will submit bug reports on Ubuntu as I'm still running Ubuntu beta over there, but I always do those manually. Here is your sharing. Here is our sound, power, network. All right, so everything looks good there. And here's our details. All right. All right, so that's just a walk through our default settings. Let's see what else is installed in this guy. As far as our audio, we have Rhythm Box. We have our basic Gnome video player for our video. I do like the fact that Fedora does come with a variety of different utilities pre-installed, so we can check our system monitors. We have our logs, archive utilities, disk managers, font installations. So that's pretty nice. We have a weather app. I've never had good luck with these weather apps. Let's see what happens if I do this. It's one of the things that just doesn't even work on the Ubuntu system either. It does seem to work. That's good. It is giving me some information, so that's good. Very good. Pleased to see that works. That's kind of good. The other thing that I've actually had crash on me more often than not is the maps. I think I saw it in here somewhere. Let's see if they got the bugs worked out of maps now as well. Maybe. Not sure. We're going to let that sit there for a little bit, see what happens. Here's photos to view those, contacts. Like I said, evolution. So that's about all we have by default. So it is a nice system as far as not having a lot of information by default. Again, maps, I've never had maps actually work on any GNOME build. Does anybody else? What am I doing wrong here? I'm not sure. I'm clicking the icon. I'm waiting. It doesn't seem to be launching. So here's our default. We have our notifications. Here's our weather. I'm guessing this is going to pick from IP address is my guess. Let's go ahead and click on that, see what that's saying. Oh, okay. Maybe it's just picking from what I picked earlier. So maybe I should have checked that before I clicked that. You can add world clocks here. Here's your calendar. Notifications are going to appear over here. One of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of GNOME, I just don't like the way they have this system set up. It just feels like it's incomplete to me for some reason. That's a personal preference thing. But of course, if you have wireless networks, you'll have the ability here to connect to your wireless networks next to our wired. This is our user logout and account settings. So if you do need to make any changes, you can do that. Of course, you have to hit the unlock button and enter the password in order to do that. Go and authenticate. And now I can turn on or turn off automatic login. Here's my last login password. Here's some things. Ooh, there's a cat. Yes, kitty, there's a cat. You like that? All right. All right, so there's that. Here's your default applications, Firefox, Evolution for mail, and your calendar. Of course, there's two different calendar things in here. I would probably like to use the more basic calendar type thing. I'm going to have a look at that application. Music, actually, I would generally probably prefer videos for both of them. And that's good. So you can set your defaults there. And let me have a look at that calendar program. All right, so here we have our weeks, months, years, and my guess is you can probably come up into the settings and add things. So, okay, there's show weather, automatic locations, calendar settings. All right, so you can actually set up your set up a Google or a Nextcloud calendar setup, Microsoft Exchange setup, anything personal on this computer. So if you are using any of those types of services, you can go ahead and attach those, and it's going to go ahead and do those. I don't use Google Calendars. I have Nextcloud. I don't really do a ton with calendars as it is, so I'll have to play with that on my Nextcloud install and see how that works sometime. But anyway, this is definitely the type of calendar application I would prefer to use rather than the Evolution one. Evolution I love for email. I just don't like to use it for anything else. All right. Let's have a quick look at files. The file manager in Gnome, which is usually Nautilus, is not my favorite file manager. One of the reasons I don't like it is when you're moving files, instead of giving you just a separate a separate window with the status, is it kind of puts the status over here in the top right up here, and it really, for me, it's extremely interfering with everything else. That's my personal opinion. Again, you may or may not care about that type of stuff, but that's why I don't like the GNOME file manager. But it does, it's probably going to find networks without a problem by default. Maybe. Okay, well, I don't know what it's doing. It's just taking forever. Apparently, I hit one of those little things. It's just like, cancel. 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 All right, let's try that one time. Let's see if it finds my network servers. All right. Says it's looking. I could probably try to manually connect to my server as well. Let's go ahead and give that a try. Not sure about that part. So I'm not sure if networking is going to be working out of the box on this or not. I have no idea. It should not take that long. Let me try with that. See if it finds that. Oh, okay, it finds that. All right, finds that indeed. I'm not going to enter any passwords in there or anything right now, but it does find that. Actually, I do have one that should connect anonymously. Okay, yeah. So it actually does actually connect to that. So it's not finding the network by clicking on the Windows network thing like it probably should, but it's everything else does seem to be working out of the box. Software installer, may as well go through that. Here is your software, so a lot of different items over here. Chromium, Blender, the maps that never seems to work. Yeah, if you use that maps, you know how to get it to work? Please let me know. I've never had it actually properly work. Okay, so here's a nice thing here. It asks us, do we want to enable third-party repositories? This is one of those great things about the Fedora project. Is they are really committed to the free and open source, very much like Debian is. And both of them are now getting on board with the fact that some people really don't care as much about enabling third-party repositories. Some people do care. And so I like the fact that it's giving us the option rather than just making it restrictive. That was one of the big negatives about Fedora for a long time, is how restrictive it actually was. You had to go through a lot of different steps to get things like multimedia codecs installed, things like that. So here I'm going to say, sure, let's go ahead and enable our third-party repositories, and let's just see if by chance it's like Mint, if I can just search for multimedia codecs. Let me just search for codecs, actually. Okay, so here's Gstreamer, multimedia codecs. So you may not see any of these unless you enable those third-party repositories, and you'll actually see here that these are already installed by default. That's another radical change from Fedora, and it's not necessarily new to this edition. I believe they put it in a couple editions ago. I think I skipped reviewing last edition. I couldn't get it working in a VirtualBox. I kind of ran out of time to make it work. So in theory, anything multimedia should probably work in this out of the box. I would have to pull some media over here just to test that principle, but it does look like it probably would because it does have all of the multimedia codecs installed by default. So overall, my final take. I mean, Gnome's not for me, but I can understand why some people like it. It is modern and slick. If you like this type of desktop, then more power to you. It's great for you. It's not personally my favorite. I still like a more traditional bar, a more traditional Windows type feel. I'm just more efficient working in that manner. This one here, I'm not seeing any real bugs other than that map program, and I've never gotten maps to work ever on Fedora, ever. I've gotten it to load once or twice, in which case it crashes and burns. But regardless, that's that. Very nice. It's slick. It installed pretty quickly. I didn't test a ton of different items. Like I didn't pull video, audio over here. It does say that the codecs are installed by default. It can find all my network shares. Very simple stuff. The applications are nice. It's gives you just your utilities, basic tools, and an Office suite. That's kind of it, but it doesn't even give you the full Office suite. What you'll see is it just kind of gives you your basic 4 applications: your spreadsheets writer, your drawing application, and your PowerPoint, your presentation software. We can install the database software if we need to, things like that. Everything else is pretty good. The weather works nicely. It seems to integrate nicely up here, so that's actually really nice. I like the fact that weather's up there in the clock by default, and everything else seems pretty slick. Kind of lightweight. I like the fact that it's pretty easy to download. It was pretty fast to install. I didn't have any issues with installation, even though I had to clear and erase a disk prior to that. I've had issues with that on some distros. I have to walk through the installer a few times to get everything set up right. This one just went right into it, did it right. So yeah, if you're into Fedora, this one seems like a great one. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I run Fedora over on my media system? See how it works. It'd be certainly a radical thing. That'd be the first time I actually run Fedora on a system if I did that. Of course, I'd probably want to do a dash to dock or install my Cairo dock on it to get my dock back. But we'll see what happens. So there's a little bit of information there about Fedora. Hopefully that's useful for you. If you'd like to help support what we're doing here at Switch to Linux, you can check out switchtolinux.com/support. I have all of the ways you can currently help support the channel over there. Links to the Amazon affiliate account and PayPal. So if you want to pick up something on Amazon, use my affiliate code. It'll send a small portion of that sale to help support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. PayPal, if you want to make a direct donation, there's a link directly on the website there at switchlinux.com/support. I do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TomM. You can support me over there, and I am working on figuring out what type of things I can do for patrons. I think I'm up to 12 patrons as of the recording of this video right now, and so that's kind of a quorum to start getting some more information about what types of things we should do next. And final thing is, if you'd like to pick up a t-shirt, coffee mugs, travel mugs, mouse pads, things like that, you can go to shop.switchtolinux.com. That will redirect you over to Spreadshirt, to my specific store, where you can pick up something over there. So thanks for watching, folks, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.